Hello folks, it's Greg and Janet with Strange RV Tours, and we are at a very cool site. We are standing here in front of what is purported to be Wyatt Earp's house in Tombstone, Arizona. So we're going to take a look around. This statue right here was put up quite a few years ago of Wyatt. It sits on the lot next to the house. And we'll show you the house in just a second. I'll give you a good view of this statue. It's pretty cool. I like the way the artist made it look like his jacket was blowing in the wind. Alright, we'll walk on over here to the house itself, the house proper. This is purported to be Wyatt Earp's house. When Wyatt Earp and his brothers came to Tombstone in 1879, they set out the task of finding their fortune in silver and gold. On December 6th, Virgil and Wyatt and James Earp, along with their partner Robert Winders, located the first north extension of the mountain-made mine. See the map below. The western boundary of this standard 300 by 1500 foot claim, containing 17.41 acres, roughly bisects the adjoining corner lot on your left from the northeast to the southwest. To secure the claim, the co-locators filed for a patent at the U.S. Land Office in Tucson on October 21st, 1881. As building materials became available, the Earps and others settled on the mining claim, unofficially labeled as Earp's Addition to the Tombstone town site. By October 1880, the brothers were already well along the process of building several frame dwelling houses in the immediate area of Fremont and First Streets. Wyatt and Maddie, that was his wife, are said to have lived on the northeast corner of the intersection, the lot to your left, while Virgil and Allie occupied the southwest corner. James had a possession of 3 lots facing Fremont, starting at the northwest corner. Finally, the southeast corner was owned by Pete Spence, a cowboy faction sympathizer. Owing to the fallout from the gunfight of October 26, 1881, that was the gunfight at the OK Corral, the ambush of Virgil, and the murder of Morgan, the Earp era in Tombstone came to an end. In 1882, the Earps left Tombstone on March 19th, unable to realize their dream that first had brought them here. Unaffected by local events, however, the patent to the first north extension of the mountain made, signed by President Chester A. Arthur, was granted on November 15th of the same year. This is what is believed to be Wyatt Earp's home. Or is it? And we'll get back to you on that in a minute. And here's the official sign out in front of the house. It's a little buggy. House is really in good shape. Take a little peek back behind it. This is the back side of Mr. Earp's house. Really a nice little home. This is and it's been said that the Earp family built the properties are right behind it also and used them as rentals. It's pretty cool. Now we get to some of the interesting part of this story. As you may or may not know, Wyatt's brother Morgan was shot and killed, and one of the men who is believed to have been the assassin of Morgan Earp lived directly across the street from Wyatt. His name was Pat Spence. This was his house here. This old house. On September 14th, 1881, Pete Spence purchased this house from John Hurgens for $600. Pete Spence was friends of the cowboy element in Tombstone and is believed to have killed Morgan Earp in 1882. Also, Pete was accused in the shooting of Virgil Earp. Pete Spence was a very bad outlaw and spent time in the Yuma prison. Today, this old house has been restored and is featuring the artwork of Tombstone artist Bill Roman. This house is really cool. It has the original glass in it. You can see the glass. Well, I hope you can see the glass. But it's a wavy glass, the old-fashioned, old-time glass. They just don't reproduce that anymore. So, and this house is currently for sale. Take you around here and give you some views of it. Some broken glass over here on the side. That's the inside. One of the front rooms of the house. One of the kind of unusual, kind of amusing parts of this story, and Pete Spence is one of the few people that escaped the wrath of Wyatt Earp and his posse. There we go. There's the other front room of the house with the front door on the left. For years, this house across the street, the one that is purported to be Wyatt Earp's house, was believed to be Wyatt Earp's house. But there's been a few discoveries in the last few years that kind of changed that story. I'll give you one last look of Pete Spence's house, the Outlaw House. Okay. Now we're going to walk directly across the street here on the other corner on this section of Tombstone. Right here, we're standing in front of Virgil's Corner Bed and Breakfast. This bed and breakfast was named after Virgil Earp. The reason it was named after Virgil Earp is because his home sat here. This is the property that Virgil had. He had 3 lots. The lots were 30 feet wide. And in the late 2000s or late 1990s or early 2000, some kids were smoking in this house, and I believe that's what I've heard. Some kids were smoking in the house and it caught on fire and burnt to the ground. They took some of the original timbers from the home and used it in this bed and breakfast to maintain its historic authenticity, I guess. So this was where Virgil Earp, the Marshal of Tombstone, lived. Now, getting back to the home of Wyatt, a few years ago, a collector of old paperwork had purchased a collection from a man, and inside that collection was some evidence that Wyatt Earp did not live in that house across the street. That where I'm standing now, where Virgil's house was, Virgil owned the first 3 lots here, which ends about, oh, let's see, I guess about here. Yeah, in fact, here's the fence line here. Virgil's property would have ended here. You can see the fence down in there. And in the paperwork, it shows that Wyatt owned lot number 4 and 5, which would be right here, which is now vacant. So this is actually where Wyatt's house sat. It's no longer here. Nobody's sure what happened to it, but it is gone. One of the pieces of proof that this was the property is that there are court records showing that when Wyatt set out to find the men that had killed his brother, he formed a posse. The posse had to be paid. Wyatt mortgaged his house to a local attorney for $365 at 2% interest to be paid in 90 days. Taxes were due on the property, and Wyatt Earp was summoned back here to Tombstone to go to court to force him to pay the taxes on the property. Well, he didn't come back. Eventually, Wyatt's father supposedly paid the taxes, and there's records showing that he did. Records showing that where the lot lines were and everything. So this is actually the property that Wyatt's house sat on. At least that's what it's, so it's believed. So there's a question mark as to whether this was the property or the property was right over there. Anyhow, kind of an interesting story. Who knows what the real story is, but it's looking an awful lot like this is the actual property, and Wyatt's home is no more. Either way, even if this was the property, Wyatt still lived only 2 houses away from Pete Spence, the man who is believed to have killed his brother and is one of the men that Wyatt was searching for. Okay, friends, so we hope you enjoyed this little stop that we made here at Wyatt Earp's house and the house across the street from him at Mr. Spence's house. Very interesting stuff, a lot of history here. So if you enjoy our videos, please hit the like button. If you really enjoy our videos, please hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so you'll get updates as to when our future videos are coming out. And you guys have a nice day. We'll see you again real soon.